Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be a meta update for 7.38c. So due to the fact that we have less stats to work with, I figured it might be a good practice for all of us, myself included, to see if we can guess how big of a statistical change in win rate each hero will undergo due to the changes that they got in the patch. So what's today's video? I'm going to read the patch notes for a hero. I'm going to give you guys a chance to guess how big of a win rate change that hero received, positive or negative. I'm going to give my guess, and then we're going to see what the real stats are after about 5 days into the new patch. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Going in alphabetical order, we have Abaddon. Lost 1 base armor. That's never negligible, especially on a hero that trades a lot. Aphotic Shield increased cooldown by 1 second at all levels. Curse of Avernus no longer dealing damage to buildings. That's actually a pretty big one. I think that pretty much removes all tower pressure that this hero has in the early game. And then minor talent nerfs. So I would say all of these add up a lot. I think the Aphotic Shield's probably like 0.5%. Base armor is always like 1% is what Bruno used to say. And I think the Curse of Avernus thing is honestly worth at least 1 to 2% of win rate. So I'm going to guess that Abaddon lost 3.5% win rate in the new patch. Let's find out what the answer is. Drum roll. Abaddon in 3,500 picks in Immortal bracket lost 3.15% win rate in the last patch. Okay, so I said 3.5, 3.15. That's not a bad guess. Okay, so we're on the right track. His overall win rate has officially dropped to 49.98% as of the time of recording of this video. Alchemist. Unstable concoction stack per count of brew time now rounds up to the nearest second. That seems like the most negligible change ever. So I would say if it rounds up, then we'll say 0.2% win rate buff. Alchemist actually gained a 1.25% win rate change. Didn't get picked all that much, so it's a small sample size. But I think it's important to note that honestly, heroes like this probably gain win rate because of the fact that they weren't significantly changed, and the heroes that were significantly changed in their same role probably got nerfed because most letter patches are nerfs. Okay. Ancient Apparition. Ice Vortex mana cost increased by 0, 5, 10, 15, and Chilling Touch attack range lowered by 20, 30, 40, 50. I would say that's about a 1% nerf because he's still got all of his spells. He still can cast them as long as he has the mana for it. But he also can't attack from as far in lane as well as in the mid game. But overall, I think this is a 1% nerf just because I think the hero still plays the exact same. And Ancient Apparition had virtually no win rate change from this, even after 6,000 picks in the Immortal bracket. So still rocking a 53% win rate. Looks like that was even less than 1%. And perhaps it's went up a little bit because of the fact that people are catching on how to play this hero a bit better because he's getting more and more play, and the win rate did not change significantly because the changes were not big enough. Next up is Batrider. His Firefly radius got increased, and there's also a bunch of spells that randomly ended his lasso that no longer do. That's what that long patch note is. With some, looks like, talent nerf at level 20 and talent buff at level 25. So I would say that Batrider, because he probably got griefed by these random interactions, especially in pubs, this is probably a 1% win rate buff. Because actually, I'm going to say 2% because Firefly radius is a lot. That's significantly wider. And there's a bunch of random grief interactions that no longer happen. Batrider gained virtually no win rate percentage, only 0.1. So small pick sample size, but nonetheless, very small win rate change from these. Thought it would be harder. Maybe it's going to take some time to settle in. Brewmaster. Earth Brewling's debuff immunity magic resistance significantly increased. Okay. Void Brewling's pull damage and distance were also both increased by about 50%. Brewmaster, I imagine, has a really small pick percentage, and all the people that would be picking him are probably Brewmaster spammers. So I'm going to give this hero like a 2% win rate buff because all of a sudden the spammers are like, give him a shot. And win rate on Brewmaster in 500 games has gone up by 4.5%. So I actually think that the changes themselves do not reflect 4.5% win rate. But what they do is encourage the spammers to try him again. And I do think the changes are significant enough to account for like 1%. But now it's all of a sudden a massive win rate change. Okay, next up we got Chen. Convert is now considered a creep hero. So it cannot be dominated, persuaded, or enchanted. And it can't be killed by Midas or Arrow. That seems like a pretty huge buff overall, especially for specific hard counter matchups in the pro level Dota, but we're also going to see like no games from Chen. So I would imagine his win rate went up by 2%. Yeah, 3%. A little bit larger. Small pick size once again, but 3%. Pretty solid win rate change. Darkseer. Base damage decreased by 2. Damage at level 1. Okay, so lost 2 damage. They buffed the facet that nobody takes. So he lost 2 base damage. That seems like a 0.5% nerf, you know? Nothing major. Actually went up slightly, even with a lot of picks. Went up by 0.6%. Might be the same thing as AA, where the hero's getting played a bit more, so more specialists, people learning a lot. Had some time since 7.38 to settle in, but I think the change itself should have no business being 0.6. Next up, we got Dazzle. Big nerfs coming to Dazzle. Shadow Wave no longer has increased healing and damage when bouncing on enemies with Aghanims, and his Novel Projection cast range lowered. Leash pull strength, meaning it pulls back to him faster, is much stronger, and the max duration is lower. I would say these are like 4%. Also, the level 15 talent being completely taken away for 90 attack speed, that was a huge talent. I'd say this is like 4 or 5% win rate. I'm going to go with 4.5% win rate loss on Dazzle. Dazzle lost 6.2% win rate, dropping from 54% to 47.6%. That's pretty wild. Okay, so we're getting a pretty good idea on some of these. Some of them not so much. Dragonite lost a little bit of move speed. We're going to say he's honestly about the same because people are learning to play him with the new facets. And Dragonite actually gained 2.7% win rate. And that's just 100% a bit of variance, as well as the fact that people are getting used to. I'm now seeing the heroes that are fresh in the meta, like Darkseer and AA. They weren't around for a while. And also heroes like DK that they're not fresh in the meta. We've been seeing DK all the time. But it's also the fact that he is good for different reasons and the build is new. So I think that's going to keep coming into play. And honestly, when people see that the hero's nerfed, they probably thought that hero's pretty good. Earth Spirit. Damage rescaled, so he does more later but less early. Seems like insignificant talent changes. The 320 is pretty relevant for one-shotting range creeps in the early to mid-game. I'm going to say that's a 1% win rate change for Earth Spirit. 3%. It's a small pick percentage or pick size of only 200, but 3%. Okay. It's important to note that not all of these changes can be statistically significant, but it's still important to keep an eye out on what these heroes are doing in the Immortal 5k to 8k realm. Ember Spirit. Bonus hero damage reduced in the laning stage. That's probably a 1% nerf because his laning stage has always been his point of contention, but once he gets to level 7, he's the exact same hero as before. So I'd say there's going to be lanes that he previously would have done better, but no longer the case, but he's still the same hero, so 1%. 1.9% loss with 4,000 picks, a lot of picks. So I would say that also you can account for the fact that Orb of Corrosion and Mage Slayer got nerfed, and those are 2 items that this hero has been buying almost exclusively every single game. So I would imagine his win rate change is also significantly impacted by items, and we should never forget the general changes of the patches and how they affect heroes. Enchantress getting that much smarter, that's going to be like virtually nothing, right? 3% win rate change. Oh, God. I mean, it is a small sample size, but it also could just be, you know, people giving her another shot because she's been buffed. The Faceless Void time zone nerf, I'm going to have to go with this one being like a 5% win rate drop. This is insane. The no longer leashes, like there's like so many matchups that are now bad for him that were previously he hard countered. So I'm going to say 5%. 3%, 2.85, 2.85%. So it is a significant drop. I guess I was over exaggerating. I thought this pretty much gutted the hero, but it's also a little bit difficult when it comes to facets because the Chronosphere, you know, it's probably the Chronosphere didn't get touched, so that's 0%, and the Chrono Square got 5%, and so now we're at 2.8. That's what I'm sticking with. I have absolutely no proof of that being the case. Next up, we got Hoodwink. Acorn Shot, bonus damage increased. Max damage on Sharpshooter increased. Okay. And Boomerang, higher move slow and spell amp. These are on a hero that's all damage centric. That's pretty important. I would say that this probably a 2% win rate buff. These are a lot of stuff for a hero that is purely damage centric. Only 0.5% win rate change after 2,000 picks. I'm actually going to make the argument that Hoodwink is a support that's overly greedy a lot of the times. Like a lot of core players pick her when they're forced to play support, and then they don't actually know what they're doing in the support role. So I'm going to make the argument that these buffs made a bunch of core players play Hoodwink because she has a bunch of damage. And so a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing are playing her, and she's still got a 0.5%. I think it's worth more than 0.5%. Jakiro. The secondary damage on Ice Path reduced by 25 damage, and the mana cost on Dual Breath increased by 10 at all levels. I noticed this, by the way. I played Jakiro yesterday, and I did struggle with mana a lot more in the mid game than I felt like I normally did. And yeah, those like 5 to 10 Dual Breaths in the early game, they add up. So suddenly you're just missing mana when you previously would have had it. I'm going to go with 0.75% loss of a win rate here. Actually gained 0.78% with 5,600 picks. That's confusing, to be honest. But we're just going to roll with it. That seems like statistical variance. Juggernaut. Oh, man. This hero's just as equally as bad before. Went from 47 to 47. Let's see. Is apparently at a 50.65% win rate and was at a 51% win rate before. So he did lose 0.7% with a large amount of picks, 2,500. But yeah, I'm surprised. Juggernaut to me feels very underwhelming. But once again, limited statistics. Keeper of the Light, self-cast bonus. This hero, I think his win rate skyrocketed because people are realizing that he's OP. It's not because this change itself is important, but I think people realize he's OP. You're seeing it all the time in competitive. I'm going to say plus 2%. Minus 0.1. So apparently people already saw that this hero was pretty good. I don't think Keeper of the Light is the best pub hero because he's all about enabling other people and playing the map in some advanced way. I would say that if Keeper of the Light's approximately a 50% win rate in pubs, he's probably pretty broken in competitive simply because he is a hero like Io that requires superior coordination to be made work. This seems negligible for Kez. 0.76%. Okay. 0.76. That's more than negligible, actually. Tidebringer on Kunkka. I've been seeing Quakefo and a few other streamers experiment with Kunkka because of this change. Extra 20 damage, and honestly, extra 5 damage level 1's no joke. On a right-clicking spell that's free. I'm going to give this a 1% win rate. I think this is actually significant. Yeah, 0.85%. Almost a 1% win rate change. It's amazing how little damage buffs can make such a big difference. I know it's not always statistically relevant, but still, 1,000 games and a 1% buff, that's pretty cool. Spoils of War. I mean, Legion, why are you hating on her so much? Is this hero going to have a high win rate that I don't think it has? Because it shouldn't have, because it's not good? Let's find out. I'd say this is a minus 0.3%. Actually, plus 0.4% with 3,700 picks. So, yeah, actually, maybe the hero's rising in popularity. I think if this continues to happen, where she rises in popularity, you're going to see a lot more Monkey Kings than you already see. You're going to see a lot more Ursas. You're going to see a lot more Troll Warlords. These carries that want you to taunt them because they just want to attack you anyway. So I'm honestly personally surprised that win rate or that Legion Commander has a positive win rate. Lifestealer lost another 5 HP for max hero kill and open wounds mana cost. We're going to go with a 0.75% win rate loss there. Yeah, 0.67. I think that was the closest I've been this whole time. So 3,000 picks, 0.67% win rate change. Okay, in the negative. Okay. Still positive win rate though. Lina, mana cost on her Light Strike Array is reduced in the later levels. To me, this is like a 0.4% buff because she's not even leveling this early on, it seems like most of the time. It doesn't make support viable when it wasn't. I'm going to say 0.5%. Minus 0.6%. So maybe it's the people trying to pick Lina and she apparently still sucks. That might be the case because her win rate is horrendously low, 43%. Ugh. Luna. No longer bounce to attack immune targets. I know Luna's been getting some subtle buffs here and there, but I think ever since they reworked Conda and her beam talent, she's probably still at like the 48%, and she probably is still there. I don't think this really changes anything. I think that actually might be a nerf sometimes, where there's like an attack immune target next to another target, and it won't bounce anymore at all now. So I don't think this is like strictly a buff or a nerf. Yeah, so she lost 0.8%, and she's sitting around 46%. Okay, that sounds about right. I feel like Luna's still very underwhelming. Lycan, base strength increased by 2. Okay, that's, honestly, I'd say that's a 1% win rate change. I think on any hero that's right-click based, giving them base stats and damage is always relevant. And Lycan has gained a 4.5% win rate. So that's one of those like small sample sizes new patch, but he's suddenly looking at a 53.4% win rate and 850 picks. That is statistically relevant to take note that, wow, that is a large win rate. So let's keep an eye out for Lycan. I have been seeing a few Lycans with the Helmdom build. I guess just people weren't really giving him a chance prior to this patch. So maybe with like the random Beastmaster nerfs that have come in the last few sub patches, you're looking for another Helm of the Overlord hero. And I have seen those Lycans not go for the Alpha Wolf facet. They're just going the normal Lycan where you get your ulti extended by killing people and going Helm of the Overlord. So yeah, okay. Keep an eye out, guys. Lycan coming your way. Magnus lost 2 strength and base damage by 1. Shockwave, oh, that's a big nerf level 1. And the self-empower bonus also nerfed from 50% to 30%. These are like 2.5% win rate losses, I think. You're talking about base stats, which is also his base HP, by the way. That's 44 HP lost. We're talking about your level 1 nuke going from securing at 90 damage, which most heroes hit for around 60 to 70, to only being 75 damage. Now it's really hard to actually nuke the range creep. I'm going to say 2.5%. 2.95%. Yeah, so we were pretty close. With 6,000 picks, massive sample size for that one. Completely statistically relevant, no questions asked. So yeah, Magnus went from a positive win rate to a 47.9% win rate with that nerf. Marcy, bodyguard, slight buff, and rebound, slight buff on her facets. I'm going to say she lost win rate because Marcy, I already think was kind of bad. Honestly, I think she was overrated, and people now saw this and be like, let's try her again. And then they suck. So we're going to base off what we saw previously. It's going to be -1. Plus 0.3%. So it looks like more people are trying her, or it actually seems like less, because I think she was one of the most popular heroes in the previous patch, and I'm only seeing 2,600 picks here, and she was one of the most popular in the previous patches. Medusa, what the hell? She wasn't picked anyways. We're going to leave her at a -0.4%. Positive 1.26%. Now, the difficulty with facet changes is that people might not even be taking this facet. They might take that unslowable facet. But yeah, okay, a lot of Medusa picks. 1,600 with a 52% win rate. That's important to keep in mind, guys. Maybe Medusa's on the rise. I wanted to try her off lane. I saw Faith Beyond doing like this Meteor Hammer build. Wanted to try that out because you don't need boots anymore. So he's doing like Meteor Hammer, Gleipnir, Spellcaster build on Medusa. Seems kind of cool. Meepo, codependence, armor bonus decreased from 2 to 1. Honestly, that's like probably a 1 to 2% win rate loss. I'll go with 1.5% because that's a lot of armor lost when you have more Meepos. -1.2%. Still, though, with 560 picks in the Immortal bracket, he's at a 55% win rate. So apparently, if you're a Meepo specialist, if you didn't already know this, now's a good time to try him out. If you're not a Meepo specialist, probably not good enough because he's not got very many picks. Muerta. Minor buff to Ofrenda. I think most people don't even take it. So we're just going to say perfectly even win rate change. Plus 0.5. I honestly think that's just from more people playing her and getting better with the hero. Nature's Prophet. Now, he lost a little bit of HP on his Treant. 200 at max level. And he also lost bonus damage per tree. So I'm going to say this is 1.5% win rate loss. Simply because he lost a lot of damage per tree, and that also affects his scaling in the late game with the talent. 1.5%. -0.3%. That's nothing. With 5,400 picks, a hero that I think is traditionally horrible in pubs is above a 50% win rate ever so slightly. So clearly still a very broken hero if in the right hands. Night Stalker. Big bonus regen at night nerf, and the status resistance talent. That was a very relevant talent nerf, because you took that every time, and that is a big nerf. So I'm going to say 1.5% for Night Stalker as well. He lost 2.9%. 2.9% win rate with those changes. The regen at night apparently was a big deal in the laning phase when you were in the first 5 minutes. I would imagine that's the biggest difference. Might even be a big deal in the late game as well. But also the status resistance. 10% status resistance is a lot. That's with 4,000 picks as well. Huge nerfs to Night Stalker. It did drop slightly below a 50% win rate with that. It went from like a 52.5 to 49.6. Nyx Assassin, slight decrease on cooldown of Mind Flare. I'm going to go with plus 0.5. Hey, plus 0.52 with 800 picks. Okay, he's at a 51% win rate. That's kind of shocking to me due to the fact that I thought in the 7.38 patch where you can no longer one-shot at jungle creeps that would just kind of gut the hero, but apparently not. Omni Knight. Damage increase, interval decreased. Okay, so he does more damage faster with the facet, and Purification got buffed in the laning phase. We're going to give this a 1% win rate buff. I think those are significant. 2.5% win rate buff. Keep in mind, this is only 420 games, blaze it. But 52.7% win rate off of these changes. I'm literally going to try Omni Knight off lane because of this. This damage interval increase, hard to quantify, but I know it's a small sample size, but this is how Tinker started in 7.38. I remember looking at the stats when the patch came out, and I'm like, wow, Tinker with a small amount of games has a really high win rate. Omni Knight apparently 53% win rate after the patch. I'm literally going into Dota right now, and I'm adding Omni Knight to my offlane list. Next up, we got Oracle. Damage heal per second decreased. Okay. Purifying. That seems like a buff to the 15 talent. And okay, so it's actually just a rework of his talents. I'd say this is like a minus 0.4% because of the other change. Actually, a plus 1% win rate, or 0.1% win rate. And he is sitting at a 52.6% win rate with 1,270 games. I do feel like just generally backline safe supports are really powerful right now, especially when like the likes of AA burst type heroes are in the meta. He would be bad against Silencer, obviously, but Oracle, 52.6% win rate in Immortal Pups. Check that out, guys. Phantom Assassin, this has to be like a 1.5% nerf. This has to make certain matchups in lane like way worse than they were before. Kills that you would have had that you now miss. It has to be 1.5%. She dropped 3% win rate. And this is in a 5,100 game sample size. 3%. She is sitting at a 43.21%. That is significant because that is 4321%. And that is why I read that out loud in such detail to that many sig figs. Wow. 43% win rate for PA. Ugh. Can't really argue with those stats. Even if it's not all Immortal Pubs, only up till 8.5k. Provoke the Beast now also provides stacks upon being silenced. And your max stacks are from 5 to 6. Honestly, if people want to try that facet, I'm going to say 0.7% win rate because the extra stack seems nice. He actually lost 0.5% win rate. So what that tells me is that people tried that facet and it still sucks. That's actually what that tells me. So honestly, that's statistically relevant to me because I guarantee there were people that saw this and were like, I'm going to try this with the new max stack facet because this came out and said this facet came out in 7.38. I saw like a Reddit post about a guy saying this was a really bad facet. I'm going to go with the fact that that's probably the case and that we should just trust the numbers on this one. Ringmaster got some sideshow secrets changes. No longer gets knocked off if the damage is below 20. So that's like Orb of Venom maybe. No longer gets knocked off from any damage for one. Okay. So slight buffs. I would say that's like... Honestly, that's going to hurt his win rate because people are going to try this and they're going to be bad at Ringmaster. So it's going to be like 1.5% down. When Ringmaster lost 1.9% win rate. Dude, you got to metagame this shit, bro. People are going to try this hero. He's hard to execute properly. So hard to execute hero. People are going to try it. Lost win rate. Easy clap. Boom. I think the hero's actually really good, though. He's just misused and he's like a hard support that people like. When I say hard support, I'm saying he has no chance of scaling into the game, purely about enabling his teammates and dominating the lanes. And generally those type of supports don't do the greatest in pubs. Silencer is brain drain. If Silencer's out of range, intelligence will now be stolen only if the dying enemy is debuffed by Silencer the moment they die. This effect used to have a grace period equal to the full assist gaining duration. Oh, that's probably like a 1% nerf, to be honest, because you would get global silence kills with the like the assist debuff. So that's like a lot of intelligence you're randomly not stealing. So I'd say 1% loss. Okay, literally 0.02% gain. So the exact same as he was before. Basically negligible. What we're saying here is that Silencer's all about his kit innately, and that his brain drain, while it is nice, is not actually relevant in making him impactful in his meta. Skywrath Mage, Mana Bolt decreased by... I need to try this, actually. Mana cost on Arcane Bolt significantly lowered in lane. Significantly. That's like 7 for the cost of 6. That's like a grocery store discount right there. I'm going to say a 2% win rate buff. 4.7% win rate buff on 1,500 games. 4.7. Okay, I'm putting Skywrath Mage in my 4-position pool. That is statistically significant. I didn't even notice this change in the patch. So it turns out that these patch note reviews are more for me than it is for you guys. So probably the Atos Gleipnir build, I would imagine, is what you'd want to go on Skywrath Mage. Snapfire. Lil Shredder base damage per shot increased. Okay. Not negligible either. No longer interrupted when Snapfire uses items and abilities that can be cast while channeling. Oh, you can protect yourself a little bit. I'm going to give her a solid 1% win rate buff from that. She actually lost 0.4%. So that means people are trying her. But her win rate's still 48.3. I think Snapfire might come into the meta with this. Like, give her a little bit of time, but I'm not super excited about it. I'm not even gonna BS. I feel like Snapfire has 1,200 picks. That's like statistically relevant enough to say that she's probably still mid. Now, TA. We've been seeing it in competitive already. Right when I read this patch, I was like, wow, those are some big buffs. Seriously? The refraction buffs and the meld quality of life change. I'm going to give TA a plus 6% win rate. Plus 6%. Plus 9% win rate. In 2,300 games, she's now at a 53.8%. So that means she was at a 44.8% prior to this patch. And she's at 53.8. Well, I hate playing TA, but that sold me. That sold me. I'm putting her in my carry hero pool right fucking now. 9%. I knew it was a good buff, but 9%. Holy moly. Terrorblade, for some reason, got buffed, even though he was picked all the time in competitive. I'm just going to say plus 0.3%. Plus 3%, actually. Actually, plus 3%. I think that's just people getting better at the hero. I don't think that changed individually accounts for that much. It could be that also none of his items got nerfed as well. Maybe that could be the case. But yeah, 51% win rate on TB and pubs with 2,400 picks. That's pretty relevant. Tidehunter, these are actually relevant nerfs. The shard by 10 seconds and the Krill Eater facet that most people were taking effectively lowers your level by 2, or like lowers your attack range and Anchor Smash by 10 at all levels. I would say that's a minus 1%. He actually gained 0.7% somehow. I do think the other facet is underrated and people should be taking it. And I'm also surprised he went up because of the fact that Mage Slayer got nerfed, and that was an item he almost always bought. But yeah, so 4,070 games. Pretty statistically relevant. Still sitting at a 52% win rate. Actually gained 0.7. The Tidehunter is still very strong, if you were ever in doubt. Timbersaw. Damage buffed. Okay, later on. And bonus regen by reactive armor. I'd say this is actually a 2% win rate buff. I think whenever you buff reactive armor, if it sends him over the edge, it's either going to be 0% or like 2%, maybe even 3%. I'm going to say 2.5% because buffing regen on Timber is big. Plus 4.6%. He's still only at a 49.68%. Can somebody win a game with this hero so he's at 49.69, please? Somebody win a game. But 1,500 games with a 4.6% win rate buff. That is a lot. That tells me that people are actually leveling reactive armor at least to level 1, because that's a 33% buff at level 1. Yeah, Timbersaw. Don't look at my Timbersaw win rate history, guys. It's ugly. But look at, go to your pubs, check them out. Tinker. Aghanims nerfed by 2%. Mana cost increased. Thank God. And barrier is lowered. I'm going to say 2% win rate loss. He actually gained 0.3%, somehow sitting at 52.6% after 4,000 games. Regardless of these nerfs, let's just be honest, this hero has 4,000 picks, and he's still at a 52.6% win rate. It's still Tinker meta, guys. I'm sorry, I was wishful thinking there. Tiny. They buffed the crash landing facet, but they nerfed the damage on Grow, and they nerfed the movement speed on Grow. I'm going to say minus 1.5%. I think these nerfs are adding up. Nice. Tiny lost 0.69% win rate, guys. Minus 0.69 with 4,800 picks. And he's actually only at a 48% win rate now. I think Tiny's still pretty good. I do think a lot of people play him incorrectly. But I think that we're going to see Tiny slowly but surely phased out in favor of heroes that rise up in the meta. One of which I'm super excited to see what his win rate change was, because I already made a guide on him, that being Wraith King. I actually don't know, so we're waiting for that reveal. Warlock, Imp Implosion Delay. That's like nothing. Nothing. Minus 1% with 3,000 picks. Okay, apparently that was important. Weaver. Bugs are now destroyed if the host becomes invulnerable. I'm actually going to say that's a minus 1.5% win rate, because now you can use a Yule Scepter, which is a way that a lot of supports can easily get rid of, and it also helps you catch Weaver. So I think Yule Scepter is now a very good item versus Weaver in general. Minus 1.5%. Minus 0.9%. Okay. With almost 5,000 picks, I'm going to say this right now, guys. I think that people don't realize how good Yules is against Weaver. It helps you set up to kill him, and it also defends you against him now. So I think with more time, this win rate would actually hurt more because of the fact that people have to adjust to it specifically. Wind Ranger, base damage by 3, damage on level 1 increased. Okay, 3 damage. She was already getting picked in competitive, or at least in pubs I saw her a lot. Execute no longer goes through death denial effects. Okay. I don't think that's too relevant. I mean, if she would have countered Dazzle, I didn't even know that. I'm going to say damage by 3 on a right-clicking universal hero with a nice attack animation. That's a 2% win rate gain. Okay, 1.1%. Still rocking a sub 47% win rate with 3,800 picks. So clearly Wind Ranger maybe is just a pipe dream right now. But I have been seeing her a lot, and she can get out of control with that kill shot if she pulls ahead in lane, because it's like such a suppressive spell where you're like an 800 HP carry and a power shot from 400 health will just kill you. Wraith King, last but not least, alphabetical order pays off for the suspense. We've got Bone Guard, the huge buff, where it is now 100% uptime without the talent. And as we mentioned in my guide from a few days ago, the talent gives you an extra 160 damage from the slow duration as well. And Wraithfire Blast also lower cooldown in lane, and negligible mana cost increased on reincarnation. It matters sometimes, but it's definitely not that important. I'm going to go with a plus 6% win rate on Wraith King. I'm going plus 6%, plus 6.9% for the memes. He received a plus 5.16% win rate, went from approximately a 50% win rate to a 55.86% win rate. Confirmed. I already knew it. I'm 6-0 with Wraith King this patch. Already released a build for you guys. I know it came out on April Fool's and a lot of you thought I was memeing, but I was dead serious. 2,600 picks, 55.8% win rate. Looks like the big winners of the patch. So we saw Wraith King, we saw TA, we saw Timbersaw, we saw Skywrath Mage, and we saw Omni Knight. Those are the ones that specifically reach out to me the most, the ones that I learned when doing this assessment. Hope you guys enjoyed playing along. Curious to hear how your guesses went. Please feel free to let me know in the comments. Let me know also if you liked this kind of video, if it was interesting to you, or if you'd rather just be told the stats in the first place. For today's sponsor, this video has been brought to you guys by yours truly, the website that I've made. I have invested hundreds of dollars into bsjdota.com, giving you all of the latest news with Brad G. I mean, BSJ and the coaching content, the YouTube content, the personal content, the Twitch content, a monthly blog, and more. Check it out now. Hundreds of dollars, guys. Get it while it's hot. We'll be putting a lot more effort into this as well as the community. Please check it out yourselves, bsjdota.com. See you guys in the next video.